Now, Jahal, I've been asked a bit more about how my community works, what I'm teaching. And in my videos, I can normally only give you a little flavor of what we do. But in this video, I'm going to go through gold's price action yesterday and tell you through how we saw the market so you can understand in more depth a little bit about what we're doing and why it's so different from how most traders operate. So yesterday, I would imagine that most retail traders were looking at what levels did gold hit? What level did it bounce off of in the morning, and what level did it retrace from in the afternoon? But this is not really how markets work. So I'm going to explain to you what we see, because we see a lot more, and this creates opportunities. So in the morning, yes, there was selling, but the first thing we start to look at is the fact that this selling was in the Asian session. Now, this has generally been the strongest session for the last few months. In fact, Asian buyers are pretty much the only buyers of gold over the last 3 or 4 months. And what we saw in the morning was stop losses being triggered. So it wasn't just a normal move lower. This was stop losses being triggered. Asians traded stop losses. Now, this tells us a few things. Firstly, that medium to longer term Asian investors are getting to the point where they're being stopped out of gold. This is important to understand going forward for medium and longer term traders. Secondly, in terms of for day traders, I've taught my community that the professional approach is when you see stops being triggered, once they're finished, you try to take the other side to them. They are weak orders, they are forced sellers in this case. So we would be looking to buy after the stop losses have been triggered. And of course, we did see a bounce yesterday. So by looking at this data more closely and this information in the markets, we're getting both short-term ideas and also starting to build a better picture for the medium term. Now, what then happened during the day was in the European session, we saw gold rally after those stops. And we also interestingly saw it rally whilst the US dollar was rising. This, if it continues for any length of time, is quite a bullish situation. But as I said to my community, after we've seen stop losses triggered, we just have to wait a little bit longer. The other thing that we've noticed in recent months is the US session often tends to be the weakest session. So we do not want to get too bullish before we see what's happening in the US session. And sure enough, in the US session yesterday, even though the dollar fell, gold fell quite sharply too. So the selling in the US session remains in place. So overall, what's the picture we're building is that the Asian traders who have been the best buyers are starting to get stopped out. That's a concern to us. And this morning, even if we notice gold is weaker again in Asia, selling in America continues as well. So that hasn't changed right now. So the picture in the medium to longer term for gold remains neutral at best and probably short term slightly bearish. And then intraday traders in my community are looking for opportunities like stop losses being triggered to try and find some very short-term intraday ideas. So if you're interested in this approach, if you want to learn to understand markets a bit more closely, understand what opportunities that presents just by spending a bit more time, by studying markets a little bit more intently and closely, then please, I welcome you in my community and look forward to seeing you there soon.